Hello and welcome to the TelecomTV Summit on AI and Automation. I'm Guy Daniels, Director of Content, and coming up now is our discussion on how AI is revamping home and enterprise network management. With home and enterprise networks becoming increasingly sophisticated, growing numbers of connected devices and resource-hungry services need to be maintained and secured on a real-time basis. But how are AI and automation helping service providers to deliver more efficient and secure services and improve customer satisfaction ratings? Well, let's find out what our guests think, and I am pleased to introduce Bill Wright, Head of AI, ML and Intelligent Edge, Global Verticals and Accounts at Red Hat, and Bill McFarland, Chief Technology Officer at Plume. Hello, both of you. Thanks so much for taking part in our discussion today. So let's start with an establishing question. How should CSPs think about home and enterprise network management automation? Bill McFarland, let me put that to you first. Are these radically different?
They're clearly closely related. And some companies, for example, Plume, will offer products in both spaces. We have a product we call HomePass, which is a management system for consumers in people's homes. And we have a product we call WorkPass, which is a management system for the workplace. I think there are some differences. First off, in many ways, automated management for the home is, if anything, more important. There's no IT staff there. The types of services that people have in their homes and the types of applications and devices that they use is a much broader range of services. The kinds of infrastructure gear they have in their home is a much wider range of infrastructure gear and often isn't so nicely coordinated. An enterprise might buy all of the same type of equipment and have really a kind of cohesive network where that can be much more diverse in a person's home. And then finally, I think the types of uses that they have, there's a broader variety of services that people are using in their homes. There's a lot of video and streaming services, a lot of audio, real-time services that require extremely good quality of service, as opposed to, loading files and moving documents around and so forth. So I think there are some differences in that, and in some ways, the home is an even more challenging environment than the workplace.
Thanks, Bill. And Bill Wright, let me put the same question to you. How should CSPs regard home and enterprise network management automation? Two sides of the same coin or completely different?
I would have to agree with Bill. I think there are two sides of the same coin. And if you think about just the vast array of devices that will need to constantly be switched in and out within the home environment, and then also the latency that could be incurred by all these different devices from a real-time perspective, as Bill said, I just have to echo everything he said from that perspective. Both of those will be challenges going forward, but I think there will be some new and interesting security paradigms that could be enacted from a device recognition perspective. And also, I think from a, when you have a smart light bulb or some other new component you're adding to your home, different ways you can enable that in a secure manner. Those kinds of things, even though they seem simple, are highly problematic from a security perspective. And I can talk more about that later, but I think it's interesting. I think both the network security elements should be also addressed beyond what Bill said, and then also, some of the other aspects are just the bandwidth itself. How do you address that? And that's how I would look at it.
Thanks, Bill. Well, let me ask you a follow-up question, Bill Wright, that is. The move to automation is seen as essential, but does automation help or does it hinder the CSP relationship with their residential and enterprise customers?
I think it really helps, to be honest with you, because when you think about it, you're personalizing the home. You're really creating a management system and a way for the homeowner to interoperate with their own environment at a much more nuanced level. So I think it does create the opportunity for deeper customer relationships. Again, going back to the reliability, the uptime, the security aspects, if all those are managed carefully, I think it creates a really dynamic relationship. When you think about it, you actually have a two-way conversation for the first time in many respects. So I think it's exciting.
Thanks. And Bill McFarland, what's your thoughts on this? Is it a help to the relationship, the CSP relationship with their customers, or is it a hindrance?
Well, I think it depends on how you use it. And I think one of the things to think about is that if you're using AI and automation to really improve the customer's experience, then obviously that's going to enhance your relationship. If you're using it just to save yourself money as a service provider, then you really need to think about it twice. I know for me personally, for example, these automated chatbots, most of them are really miserable. And these days, I won't even engage in that. When the little chat box comes up, I'm like, well, forget that. That's not going to be helpful because this is totally automated and not very well. But on the other hand, when you think about, the kind of quality of experience that people have, if their network is actually better run and better taken care of, that makes a big difference. And, we actually did a survey. We did a study with our customers after deploying the Plume management system. We actually saw that call-in rates reduced by 50%, and that the NPS score, the net positive supporter score or something, I can't even remember what NPS stands for, but the NPS score increased by 60 points. And so this is a demonstration of how by actually just managing people's networks better, having them have fewer problems, having more of the issues taken care of automatically, can actually make people more satisfied and really think better of the service provider.
That's good to hear, and I'm completely with you on chatbots, by the way. Let's move on and look at machine learning, can we? Should CSPs go all in on machine learning now to help them deliver managed services to residential and enterprise customers? Or is it already too late? If they haven't already started, it's just simply too late. Bill McFarland, let me ask you first.
Well, the trend towards using AI and automation to run these networks has been happening for a while. I think it's never too late. One of the things to keep in mind is that this is going to become more and more important. For example, a lot of the CSPs that we work with are managing Wi-Fi networks in people's homes. Wi-Fi is progressing from Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6, now Wi-Fi 6E. It's getting more and more complicated. You have operation in the 2.4 gigahertz band, operation in the 5 gigahertz band, now the 6 gigahertz band. There's a ton of decisions to make about how access points connect to each other, what frequency channel, where should the clients connect into the network. You can do a lot of good or a lot of harm if you optimize those networks well or poorly. And so these added complications require more automation, more intelligence in order to make good use of these capabilities instead of having them actually hinder the networks. So this mandates that service providers become more competent and more able in these areas. Now, the good news is that they don't have to do it all by themselves. There are companies that sell either turnkey systems for doing this kind of management or can give you the key ingredients that you need to do the kind of machine learning, to create the databases, to create the history of knowledge that you need in order to be able to do these things really intelligently. So you don't have to build everything from scratch. You can get help from other people to accomplish this.
Thanks, Bill. And Bill Wright, is it too late if CSPs haven't gone all in on machine learning yet, or should they do so if they haven't already?
I agree with Bill. It's never too late. And I think one of the things that AI and machine learning can help with is compatibility, understanding the different and disparate systems that are in a home and navigating that quickly to establish solid network connections and interconnectivity between those applications. Some of that will have to be managed in the home, but I think over time, AI and machine learning can help automate all that so new devices can be joined very quickly and seamlessly and create really a great user or rather homeowner experience. So there's a lot of exciting work on that front right now as well.
Great, thanks, Bill. I'd like to come on to ask, what tasks should network operators be automating to help them be more efficient with the provision and management of their broadband and associated services? And can AI play a role in reducing home visits and truck rolls? Bill McFarland, let me put that one to you first.
Well, so definitely AI can play a role. Again, Plume has worked with service providers and we've been tracking this. And after installing our service, which is an automated, network management service, they saw reduced truck rolls were reduced by about 67%. And it's not even just, the savings from that. You have to look at things like the savings in terms of the churn that you have from your customers. If your customers are being better served, they're happier, they're more likely to stay with you. And that reduction can also be in the 30 to 50% range. And further, some of these services that you can provide with automation and AI are new capabilities that customers may not have had before. Cybersecurity, maybe parental controls, things like that. And that is actually a possibility of being able to increase your ARPU. So you can actually charge customers more for these services, either individually or as part of a bundle. And so that can actually increase your revenue. So all of these can be very effective in terms of improving the way your bottom line looks.
Thanks, Bill. And Bill Wright, from your point of view, are there certain tasks that network operators need to automate now to help them be more efficient with their service provision and management?
Yes, definitely. I think on the security frontier, there's quite a bit that needs to be done. But I think the industry is responding accordingly. If you think about it, the example I mentioned earlier, the light bulb example, it makes people laugh, but quite literally a bunch of security researchers for a particular firm had discovered that a hacker can get into the home network by basically going through a light bulb, which was fascinating. The light bulb would send a signal indicating an outage. The home user would notice this and then basically, rejoin a new light bulb into the system. That created a bridge for some malware to get in. And there are all these odd and interesting backdoors that all of us need to pay attention to maintain that level of security. However, those were researchers that were proactively looking for these kinds of issues and were able to find it quickly before this ever took place. So I think the homework is being done to make that a safe and optimized experience. But beyond that, AI and machine learning, that's where I work. So of course, I'll say it helps in a variety of areas. That's my job. But literally, if you think about it, even the truck rolls themselves can be optimized with AI. If you think about it, where the truck needs to go and what can be managed autonomously versus in person, all those things can be managed through various algorithms, and it becomes a joint human and machine experience. We're not excluding maintenance personnel, et cetera, things like that. But we are saving the company money by basically deciding what the best, I guess you could say, service route would be for those trucks to go on. How could you save more gas? How could you basically make your stops more efficient as you go through the city? You can start there, and it just goes in a huge chain all the way down the line as to all the different areas that can be optimized. And, I'll get off my soapbox there.
That's a good soapbox to be on, Bill. But Bill, I'd like to come back to something you mentioned earlier in the discussion. That was the area around security, which kind of leads into this other question I'd just like to put to you. Is there a clear line currently about what processes should and shouldn't be automated in managed enterprise networks, and how does this play into the role of CSPs in private wireless networks?
I think it's a data privacy issue. That is the primary thing. Many aspects of network operations can be automated, and it is a hammer and nail conundrum. Many things can be managed with very low level algorithms, alarms and triggers, that kind of operation. But then other things would require a deeper neural net kind of sensibility or capability from a nuanced perspective in terms of new anomaly detection and things that are taking place. But yeah, it's a very interesting time for all of this from that perspective, definitely. And from a security perspective, I think there are things in terms of voice devices, things that listen, even TVs can listen. Where do you draw the line in privacy and in data privacy? And how do you adjust those settings for the user so the user is happy with that outcome and feels comfortable in the environment they live in? And so I think those things need to be preset up front. Deep privacy needs to be enabled at the installation point, and then the user can decide what they'd like to share and what they wouldn't. And I think although that data is very valuable to folks, I think the customer user experience will become more paramount, and you'll want to create that bond of trust. And so I think thinking about that up front is a good idea.
Yeah, Bill.
I wanted to tag on to that discussion about security and cybersecurity. Here's a perfect example of something that clearly needs to be automated and very intelligent. You have millions and millions of devices in your network. If you're running, if you're a big CSP running all these homes, and a very small percentage of the devices actually will be infected by a virus. But of course, the damage they can do is really large. So you need to help your consumers out. You need to be able to find those. And we talk about wanting to do learning both horizontally and vertically. Vertical learning is what you get when you look at the behavior of a particular device in a particular home across time. Maybe you have a Nest thermostat and you're watching how has it been behaving day after day after day, and then suddenly it's behaving a lot differently. that indicates that that device may have been infected by a virus. And then there's also a horizontal learning. If you're gathering all this information and you're moving it to the cloud and you're applying these machine learning algorithms and things, you can see that across the millions of homes that you're managing, here's how Nest thermostats are operating in all of these other homes. And you can see if there are Nest thermostats that are behaving very oddly in a very different way. Those also become suspected devices that perhaps have some type of virus or malware in them. And so this is fundamentally a task of gathering a tremendous amount of information, both across time and across many different homes, and then applying machine learning, artificial intelligence types of techniques to it to do anomaly detection. And this is the kind of thing that's, really becoming mainstream in the industry. And it's something, again, that, we support in our system, and many other providers of these types of services would support as well.
Great example of how we can tie in AI and security there. Thanks to you both. We'll have to end our discussion now. Thank you very much for participating and both of you sharing your views. Now, if you're watching this on day 2 of our TelecomTV Summit on AI and automation, then don't forget, please send us any questions you have and we'll try and answer them in our live after show program. That's later today. And there's still time to take part in our online poll. Don't miss your opportunity. Until then, thanks for watching and goodbye.